Okay, well, hello once again. We're at the Long Spoon now for October. That was a fast month. And I'm Robert.
I'm Suzanne with Clarity.
I'm Sandra.
I'm Suzanne. And I'm Christina.
And we do have the Wonder Dog here tonight. You might hear a bark now and again from Hopscotch.
We're
But
doing the tabletop conversation for the Long Spoon.
yes, for the month of October, and I will start by reading that we always pull one of the oracle cards on the site, and the last couple of times have been the ancient wisdom cards. This time it is the totemic oracle cards, and the one that came up for this month is number 7, and it says the totemic man that knows the language of the totems of the world of Fae and holds them for their freedom. And then the inset collage there also says, additionally, making it up twice, we ensure it to be twice told. And there you find the rich ancient dust of the magic you need. So here was going to be a magical month, apparently.
Yeah.
And then the oracle itself reads as the totemic man, an enigmatic figure said to possess the rare ability to comprehend the language of the totems and the Fae, stands as a guardian of their freedom. Legend has it that by uttering the ancient words twice, he invokes a powerful enchantment that reveals the deepest secrets of magic. Twice told, the incantation echoes through worlds long forgotten, unveiling the rich tapestry of ancient wisdom and unlocking the mystical potential hidden within. In his hands lies the key to unleashing the dormant powers of the universe, beckoning seekers to uncover the profound mysteries waiting to be discovered. So that is an indication of a very mystical, magical month of October.
Yes.
It's also one of the first pieces. Yes, that we did this last year to begin the work that we would do for the whole year.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so funny because I thought we would be doing a lot more
Mm-hmm.
of this character
Yeah.
and everything. But he's just kind of traveling with us because none of the pieces look like him,
Nope.
but he has such a focus on the wild and the wilderness, and I think that that's part of what started the journey, is that search for the instinct of the wilderness, the part of us that we want to know better, but is still kind of we're not as familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as we started this year, in that unfamiliarity, the actual show started moving into what we call process. And I think process is what you break down to become familiar with what's unfamiliar.
Yeah. And I like that because, picking this one coming up for this month is I don't know the word more unusual, but it's such a different perspective that helps enter into the month and into our work, that you would have this mythical being, which is really an energetic force of energy that is something that is bigger than you, but it contains the entirety of all that you're within, and then everything else.
And instinctual.
Yeah, instinctual. And it goes from just the global planetary Gaia, but it reaches out past that to the solar system, the universe, and the galaxy. So it encompasses the all of everything, but it's then reduced down into this figure, just like we personally are these sovereign beings that contain within us the breadth and width of an imaginative world that is both real seen and real unseen. So,
But I think also it's we had a discussion that children came over tonight.
oh yeah,
The
I
whole
love.
family
Mm-hmm.
came over tonight from the Blue House to the Red House, which they do every Tuesday. And so all the Susanna and Jeff and all the kids come. We have dinner, and tonight we stayed inside instead of being outside in the big red tent. Came on in because it's cooler. But it was interesting was we had a conversation with the boys and Susanna about the instinctual nature. And the boys were talking about there's a lot of guilt in the whole younger world about working with technology and working with the internet and games and all of that. And they carry a lot of the weight of guilt of that. And the conversation was we told them not to do that.
Mm-hmm.
That we didn't want them to feel that they were doing something wrong. That actually, I think it's very much part of learning to be instinctual.
Mm-hmm.
And today, in these days, we don't have shamans and or elders that take children, young people, and initiate them and take them aside. And what takes them aside in this world now? It's the internet.
Yeah.
It's the gaming. It's the internet. It's working with technology. That takes them aside. And you wonder, why do we live in a world where something like that would take our children aside? But we don't have any shamans anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Shamans were teaching the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
They were teaching the young men and young women how to be instinctual,
Mm-hmm.
how to hear before sound, how to feel their instincts faster and faster, how to hunt, how to smell out whatever they needed. And I hadn't thought of it before, but I think that is, and that's why we call it AI or OUF or whatever. It's because we don't understand the new initiator.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
And
Very interesting.
the new initiator is here.
Mm-hmm.
We fight it. We call it evil. We push shame people out of it. But in actuality, they are going beyond all the limits. They're
Mhm.
finding friends that don't live next door. They're finding people that live across the country to hear their words. They're gaming and they're hunting together with people that are on the other side of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And if we were back in the time of the Vikings, they would fight with Vikings. But these kids are being initiated and initiating each other from all over the world.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
And we shame them about it. But in actuality, I realize that I still am being initiated from the whole world through this technology.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm initiating the world through this technology.
Mm-hmm.
And it's faster, it's more gut, it's more intuitive, it's more wild. It has lots of more wild things in it than we can find around the block. And we have to learn how to work with that. And so do they. And there is a terrible shaming that's happening with it. And they're forced into secret. And it's really sad because years ago you could go to a convention or something, workshops or something,
Mm-hmm.
and if you didn't get along with that crowd, you were out of luck. And if you didn't, if you were different in it, you're out of luck. And we went to a workshop on film a few years ago, and at the workshop were a bunch of young people that were learning about filming, and there was a break, and so everybody was kind of in this amphitheater, and these kids, you looked at them, there's kids all clucked together, friends and lookalikes, and they were all talking and they were having fun, and then there were these other kids, maybe groups of twos that were, talking and having fun, and then there were these kids that were by themselves, and they were talking and they were having fun. That's not happened before.
Mm-hmm.
Usually they're separated, they feel shamed, and they're waiting.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's waiting. None of them.
Mm-hmm.
They were all talking. They were talking. A person by himself was talking to somebody that they really enjoyed and loved, and were talking about what they were
On their
doing.
device, yeah.
And they're on a device, and you say, oh well, people
they're
don't
not
talk among each
isolated.
other anymore.
Mhm.
Well, you know why they're on the device is because we're learning to go beyond the boundaries. We're learning that we don't have to be a certain thing to be part of. Because when you take the whole world, there's always people like you. You have kindred spirits.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think I told him, I said, don't ever do that with us.
Mm-hmm.
We're interested in what you're doing. The gaming you're doing is your learning process. You're learning gut process. You're learning quick process. You're learning how to break things down. Where do you get to do that around the block?
And that
Right.
quickly.
Problem
that
solving
quickly.
and
Yeah.
safely.
Yeah.
Not doubting yourself, like you were talking about. It's like,
Right.
that's a huge skill to have.
Yeah, it really is. And they really kind of woke up to what we
They
were
were
talking
leaning
about.
into the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And all of us were starting to share with them the different things that we find with technology that helps us actually become Valkyrie, helps us become beings that can make a difference, and that we don't have to make a difference by thinking like the person around the block.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
We can reach out and have people from all over the world that we would have never known. And
Yeah.
so I
And I
wanted
told them tonight too that the whole thing, where your dreaming world, when you go to sleep and you dream, and then your waking world, the daytime where you're consciously awake and moving around, and then this gaming world, there really is no difference. It is all one large picture, but it's categorized so that you can do certain things certain ways in each of these three categories.
so you can process it.
And so you can process it, and then as you learn the skills in each of the three areas, you can then overlap them and start having what you're doing in your dream world work in your awake world or in your gaming world, so that they all start to blend. I can remember
Your creative world.
years ago when I started doing some lucid dreaming, and I remember the first couple of times I did it, it's like, oh wow, this is really cool. I'm awake inside this dream, plus I know some of the language of the dreams where certain items or certain things you do mean certain things. So I started applying the meaning to the action inside the dream, and that was one level. But then I think it was right as I met you, and I think we were driving to Louisville or something, and I remembered at a traffic light or something that I could do the same thing awake that I could do asleep. And so that just kind of transposed itself and made things move even faster and smoother. So these skills of gaming for them are applicable in a lot of
Right.
other ways, because,
Right.
like you say,
They're learning alchemy.
speeds up skills. It speeds up combinations of ways things fit or move smoothly or don't, and so all of this gets all jumbled together until it all fits into one big piece.
That's a really unifying piece too, because
Yeah.
there's this separational thing that's trying to
Mm-hmm.
divide all that out,
Mm-hmm.
and you're all threading that all together to help connect and realize that there isn't that separation or divisional
Mm-hmm.
space in that kind of thing. So I thought that was very, very cool to bring forward.
Yeah.
Well, and
Yeah.
it gets you comfortable when you're doing that, working with potentials and
Mhm,
possibilities, and working in realms where there are no limits.
Mm-hmm.
You know, or at least in that sci-fi world, or
Mhm.
however you're gaming, and just to get the brain to be able to move around freely like that,
Mm-hmm.
and start to be comfortable with being flexible and being willing to consider possibilities and potentials.
Because
Like
it's
you
all
said,
puzzling.
and those skills, as you're doing it, having fun, all translate to real life you know,
Mhm.
that you can, if you know you can do it in that world, all of a sudden you start thinking in a way where you think outside of limitation. You start thinking about possibilities and potentials, and I think that that's why the newer generations and stuff, and those of all generations who are willing to work with that technology, are able to be more creative and more flexible, and are finding solutions and alternatives to things that seem impossible.
Mhm.
And I really love that. I think you're
I
making
like
really
what
good
Suzanne
points.
had brought forward too in the conversation about having a place to run.
Mm.
That was fabulous
Mm.
because we all do need a place to run, and sometimes, you know, to find different worlds where you can try to do that is fabulous. I thought that was really great.
I love the I don't know if you all were in here, but
Can you talk a little louder?
yeah. And tonight during one of the discussions with the kids, talking about a movie they had watched with a family,
Mm-hmm.
and to hear from one of the twins his interpretation of what they were discussing, and all of a sudden his mother and his brother both had changed ideas about the movie, things that they hadn't looked at, hadn't thought
Oh,
of,
cool.
and it was amazing to hear that. But it came from the youngest,
Interesting.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
and but it's also the willingness of the parents to open up and receive that
Right.
and say, "That's wonderful, thank you. You've changed
Yeah, I
my
hadn't
perception
seen
on
that, yeah.
something
Wow.
on that," and it was just wonderful
It
to
can be
hear.
expansive.
Yeah.
Well, it's neat because in this piece talks about twice told, and I think we got to witness also Susanna, the mom, being able to have it twice told in realizing the power of being able to use to use different realities to be able to express who you really want to be.
Yeah.
And there's times in your life where you feel like you can express it in the physical world, and then there's times where, you know, you feel like maybe it's easier to play video games to find, you know, and
Try
connect
it out.
with people
Yeah,
and
try
who you are in that world, and realizing that they're all connected. But it was just really neat to see the truth told twice, and realizing that now she can be in the real reality, the physical reality now, and can be fully who she is without needing to kind of escape or go into other places. And I thought that was just really cool because it was like she was recognizing it as she was talking at, you know, right in that moment. It was really a place of empowerment, which
Right.
is
And
really
you
beautiful.
you realize
That's cool.
you realize that the gaming world, which is, you know, pretty new to us as far as, I mean, we haven't really experienced it, but it really is just a continuation of movies. So here we've had movies
Well,
since
we've experienced it in and out of as the children, our children and their children grew up.
through that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but but from the time of Malaise, when he first started putting together movies, you know, putting the backdrops and getting the animation to happen, and how all of that first started in film back in turn of the century, to now you have all the movies that people have been watching, is really just another form of gaming. It's just a slower form, because the gaming part is the movie, but now you're interactive with it,
Right.
and you're moving around, because in the gaming part you have to you're problem solving. You have to reach levels, and as you get to one level, then more happens, and you reach another level and more. So as your skills increase, then there's more going on, but it's as though you're inside a 3D movie.
Well,
happening.
these indie kids,
Yeah, and
they think faster on their feet.
yeah, it's more
Yeah.
of a 3D surround
And so we don't
world.
have enough room for them to run in
Mhm.
this world.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Do you think it's really interesting to, if you take what you were saying, both of you, about when you go back, that the gaming is, okay, an extension or the next layer of movies. Well, what if it's really also, if you go all the way back, and we're talking about the totemic man being a mythical, magical being, what if, I mean, this is the expansion, all these generations and centuries later, of the mythical, magical world that was created in ancient times to tell stories and to give insight and inspiration and train and teach and inspire and all of that. And it's almost like, because in that, back in that day, that allowed people to open their minds and their hearts to imagine. They had to use their imaginations about mythical or magical beings or worlds or lands or any of that in a lot of the fairy tales and the stories and all of that. And I was just thinking about that with the totemic man. I was realizing how much in my world, in my realm that I've developed and continue to expand, the more mythical, magical, or, you know, as I allow and recognize the potential of other realities, the Fey realm and the elemental realm and mythical, magical beings that create a sense of safety and comfort for me and familiarity, almost like going back to stories of your childhood and things that comforted and gave you support and guidance and inspiration. And it's like bringing those, allowing them to be part of your realm instead of separate from it, to help you when you're trying to make changes and transitions. I thought that was really interesting when I thought about that with the totemic man.
That was
Yes,
wonderful.
that's really
Yeah.
cool.
Wonderful way of seeing that. I
Mhm.
think it's almost like time traveling.
Yes,
Mhm,
yeah.
It's like running through time. These kids are so fast that
Mhm.
they are these indies. They need to run through time. They need more room
Yeah,
Mhm.
because they can run faster.
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm.
And this world does not want that. And that they can do it through the technology.
They can.
And they could change the whole world
Yes.
much quicker. And that's why they're made to feel
Less than.
less than,
Mhm.
because they do work with all of this.
Like they can't, they have no.
And I think what we're
And it happens that way for us because
Mhm.
we use almost the technology to speed up everything for ourselves.
and I think that's what we've done with the long spoon itself, and then when we weekly do the flip books, it's all a signature way of storytelling that is also breaking down the process
Yeah.
for the year.
Uh-huh.
So month by month by month, this is building its storytelling
Yes.
venue, and since since the long spoon is a curated compilation of what we've been doing, then it brings it into just the enjeu for the month, and allows you to take part in breaking down the month through the various galleries that we have on there.
It lets you run.
The flip books, you can move through those quickly. Um, the creative life show, so you have the audio you can listen to. We have short videos throughout it, so that it all creates a bigger picture, but you get it in parts. And so the scrolling through is the way to break down the process of the entire view of that table set out
Wow.
in front of you.
That's really cool.
So
I love that.
yeah, so the totemic band is um, mythical, but he's mythical in the sense that he brings myth.
Right.
But in actuality, he is real. So the imaginal realm is not imaginal realm. The imagination comes out of that, but it is a real realm, and that from
Do you all experience it that way?
Yes.
Yeah.
from no idea to an idea,
Yes.
or from no thought to thought, or no sound to sound. The thing that's before what comes, that's that realm,
Yes.
and it is very real because everything comes out of that.
Yeah.
All creativity comes out of that space. So every building you've been in, every home that you've seen, every store you've gone to happened before it happened.
Yeah.
It had to be drawn up before it was built. All of those things are in
Okay.
place in the before they happen. So
Oh, that's
breaking down the
beautifully said,
process in the long spoon is you have a chance as you go through it to assimilate it before the entirety of the month has played out, and it gives you support. I mean, that's what it's there for. It's filled with compassion, a sense of well-being, a sense of safety. It's just a space, such a love that's been built to hold October.
Since you said hold, this line has been really standing out to me, and I think I love it connects with what you just said about holding. It says, "In his hands lies the key to unleashing the dormant powers of the universe, beckoning seekers to uncover the profound mysteries waiting to be discovered." And I think what's interesting is with the long spoon, it's almost like we could say, in our hands lies the key to unleashing the dormant powers of the universe, beckoning
Yeah.
seekers
Mm-hmm.
to uncover the profound mysteries waiting to be discovered after reading the long spoon.
Yeah.
It feels like
Yeah,
what
that's
we
really
get to
what-
hold in our hands
Yeah.
is that kind of potential, that
Mhm.
mystical potential hidden from within, and I just think that is so cool. Unveiling a rich tapestry of ancient wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's all in here.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
he's leading the way this month.
Yeah.
That's
Wow.
beautiful.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
Thank you.
Wow. Well, do we have more to add, or
I hope so.
okay? Well done. Well done.
So, what else do y'all want to say about in this conversation and share that's to do with this? Sandra? Suzanne?
Oh, well, I have been reading a book that Suzanne had shared with me on the Fey world of Ireland, and it's been very interesting to read what this woman has gathered as far as information and the ignorance that I'm not talking about Ireland or Ireland's people, but you see in all the work that we do and how we work with nature and the garden and the Fey world. We came here to be with the elementals, came to Maine to be with the elementals while this work was being brought forward. And the ignorance that is out there about the reality of the Fey world. And these people in these particular stories have come forward and told their stories because they actually had met, seen, worked with, whatever, with the Fey world. And it's really hit me how hard people have worked to cover up that world, to not allow it to be discovered, to let it be, like she said, the mysteries waiting to be discovered that these people, these Fey beings have. And I kind of upset me because I thought in this time there's so much knowledge out there to be gained and people are still trying to squelch it. And the totemic man represents the Feywild. He represents that magic, and there, I don't know, it was just an upsetting realization that ignorance was still out there after all these years. And as much as we know about them and you know, stories, and most of them are not stories. They actually were events that happened and people expanded on them. But I love the fact that he is a figure that's possesses that ability to bring it forward.
I like how it says that he holds for them their freedom.
Yes, yeah.
Like, and that the totemic man that knows the language of the totems of the world of Fae and holds for them their freedom.
Yeah.
So that he holds that place of, like, I just think that there's been so much, so many animals and totemic presences and around us. I mean, there's so many gifts around us all day long, and there's information being ready to be accessed all the time, and things to notice and pick up on, and subtleties and things that nature shares, and the fact that there's a language of that totem. I really, I love that. I mean, you hear about the language of the birds, and there's language of it, but the language of the totems, it's really cool that he pulls on that from the world of Fae, and then accesses that for freedom. I think that's really cool.
That was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think that realm is designed very much to support and comfort and guide through the mysteries of the world.
Yeah.
You know, when you're everything is a mystery when it's still unknown to you, you know, and then once the knowing and understanding comes through of something, it no longer, its mysteries are revealed, and it's almost like going through that process, that passage of feeling safe and comfortable and okay about being in the mystery of something until it can be revealed to you. And that's really a very initiatory process, and because every level of consciousness requires that. And I just feel like like y'all were saying, to be able to call upon and recognize the reality and the gift of those realms that are seemingly invisible to us, but are very real, are actually there to support and comfort and guide us through that time, through that process, because they live inside that world, you know. And I'm constantly amazed and grateful for that gift.
Just a quick story. I was able to go for a walk today on the community path, which is just all beautiful colors and woods, and there were. I always like to pick up acorns along the way, but there was these beautiful old trees there that were just these gorgeous oak trees, and I knew I wanted to pick up acorns from those specific trees just because it's just what a cool gift.
Yeah.
You know, from those trees that have been there. I mean, they're just so ancient. They're old. They have been there a long time. And Native American land, I mean, that was all their land. They lived there, and so anyway, so when I had them in my pocket, I had some, and I was talking with the twins about it, and I gave them each an acorn, and we were talking about the strength of oak, like from the Dreamtime Oracle, and what they've grown up with,
all those threads,
you know, and knowing the strength of oak. And it's like to hold on to the acorn in a time of our lives where it's like, does that acorn really know it's going to be a big oak tree someday? Like, does it hold that knowing? But just holding that kind of potential is so exciting.
Yeah.
And that we have that. We get to hold that same potential, that same magic, that same awareness that there's something wonderful growing and getting ready to become something. But sometimes it's so small and it looks like it's nothing.
Insignificant.
But to hold that in your hand and remind ourselves, whether it's like a talisman or whatever, but it's like
Yeah.
a reminder of
Mhm.
that we're becoming something grand
Really grand.
Yeah.
and something with such strength, and I think that was empowering. So I had one for me too, and I just felt like it was an exciting conversation to have because it threaded in what they've been exposed to, you know, with as kids, you know, growing up inside using this work, and then to try to apply it to them as young men and into their everyday life, and just with all of our conversations and all of those things. It's just cool how I felt like it was connected with the language of the totems and nature
Oh, yeah.
and the oracular way you can live life and
Oh, yeah.
and be in dialogue in a spiritual way using nature. And
I love
you know,
that,
it's
yeah.
like, and it was wild because all of a sudden Daniel's like, oh, well, that reminds me of a line in one of the poems that one of my friends wrote to me about being seated in something. And it was like, so then he threaded in the poetry that a good friend had written, you know, and then connected it with that. And so it was just this really threaded, connected, you know, expansive conversation. And I feel like it was magical what came from it, and I feel like it connects in with this oracle.
And the voices of these young people are more poetic because that's kind of part of their education. And Riley definitely did more of an inner education.
Yes.
But it's like using technology to communicate with friends. Keeps those kind of things close, and you have room to write a poem and somebody read it, whereas in conversation a lot of times there's not room for that. So when they communicate to each other. Another thing about that is that happened today to us is there was something that came on to Facebook or Instagram, one of them, and it was a whole thing on it, called it forest bathing. And I thought when they started describing it, you know, Sandra, years ago, we talked about, you know, wanting a big tub outside, and you could be outside and be in, you know, just be so neat to be able to do that. And today, when I was reading about it, and was talking about bathing in the forest, the exchange between yourself and the trees, that these trees actually emit things that actually give you health and actually feed your body in a lot of ways just by being in their presence and being in water. And all at once I realized that we've done that. And that we have a moon bath that is in the back part of our property line, and but it's close in. But anyhow, that's where the trees are. There's a tree line that goes it goes perpendicular and then crosses over, and that talked about the trees that for the bathing would be like really good would be pine and cedar and oak and maple, and that these trees emit certain, I can't remember all the technology, but emit certain things into the environment that actually heal the person. And without even knowing that, just the way we live, we created that. We have the moon bath in a tree garden. It's the only part of the garden that has a lot of trees lining it. And so, and then the moon bath is placed near the plant, because it has trees, we've put plants that grow in woods. So there's like trillium, and there's like mayaples and ferns and sweet woodruff, things that grow either in the deeper forest or on the edges. Solomon seal. And I thought we couldn't have done better. It's a moon bath, and it's sitting right there in the garden. We call it the tree oakum garden.
Yes, you
and
do.
and so it is. We've had the perfect forest bathing in our moon garden that matches up with what they're talking about,
Wow.
and that was intuitive. We hadn't really
Totally.
figured it out. We just listened to the garden. We listened to the Fey world, and that's where it went,
Mhm.
and that's where it's been. And we get in it in the summer, and we find it really wonderful and refreshing. But it is placed in a perfect way by working
Mhm.
with the intuitive, that you're aligned with. I don't know how we could have get more aligned right there with that.
Yeah, no,
So, forest bathing.
That's
Mhm.
pretty awesome.
Forest bathing.
Hmm
very
I love that.
totemic.
And oak trees are one of the good ones for that
Yeah.
that we just
Mhm.
talked about.
Mhm.
Did you love that?
Mhm.
That is amazing.
How much of this garden is put just right that we have never been given the reasons?
Mhm. And it's neat because
That's when you listen to
when
it.
they talked about the forest bathing, they were talking about how the tree. I mean, they broke it down. The process. They broke down the process into
I sent it over to you
a
all.
biomolecular level, the different parts that affect the body and how it does it. So that's really
That is really
pretty
cool.
amazing to
Hmm
fold into that organically.
It's the value of listening deeply to that Fey world.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a gardener, it's essential. And we were just talking today, the way we have the what do you call them?
The troughs.
The troughs are all together in the garden, and we use mostly, but a little big part of what we plant is in those troughs. And Robert said, you realize that when it snows, those troughs are fed. It's called farmer's
Right.
nutrient.
Farmers.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it all stays there. It doesn't just run off.
Right.
It melts and goes down in the trough
Oh, yeah.
and in that dirt.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I thought that was
That is cool.
And it was very prolific this summer. All of the troughs.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. That was a fun conversation.
Mm-hmm. It was a fun
Yes.
conversation.
I hope anybody that listens has enjoyed it as
Mhm.
much
And
as
is
we have.
inspired by the thread that runs through this month.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I loved everything everybody brought up.
Mhm,
I
me
loved what you
too.
were
It's like a
talking about
feast.
too. Yeah.
It was like a feast.
It was a feast.
Well, I
A
hope you
forest
enjoy the
feast.
long
A
spoon.
forest, one of our
Huh?
favorite cookbooks. We said it's a forest feast.
Mhm.
Oh, and actually, that is one of the cookbooks.
I know.
Yeah.
That is one of our favorite cookbooks.
Yeah.
So good.
Oh God, so glad you mentioned it.
Yeah. Well, thank you everyone for joining us for this month,
Mhm.
and enjoy the long spoon. There's lots in there, lots visually, and you can listen to the Creative Life and look at one of the Traveler Series books is in there, and the various flip books. And thank you for being part of this. And if you are enjoying it like we are loving sharing it, and you think of a friend that you think might benefit from the joys of sitting down at a long spoon table, then you might mention it to them. We'd love that.
Well, actually, I saw last night that in New York,
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
I think
yeah.
it was New York, wasn't
It
it?
was New York.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
This time of
Neighborhoods.
year, they have a long table,
It was like a block long
block long,
in the middle of the street.
in the middle of the street, and these people
neighborhood
that live in
that
this
does it.
neighborhood feed anyone that wants to come and sit
It's
at that
free.
long table for free all day
It's
long.
all set up, and they have flowers, and it's just
And
this
people just
long,
go and sit and
long
talk
table.
and-
Oh,
Isn't that cool? They do it once a year. It's the third year they've done it. So,
Wow.
So.
That's awesome.
hmm
And
speaks
how
well for
do
long.
They do it for
Yeah.
a month. How long do they do it?
I think it's for that evening,
just
for
one
that
day.
day, for one day.
I
Yeah,
see.
yeah.
Oh, isn't that
Well,
so
you-
It's a dinner.
The
Mhm.
long
Oh.
spoon keeps feeding us all year round, just like that table.
Yeah.
Does?
Yeah, it
Oh,
does.
I
It does
It
indeed.
does.
It does. Thank
People
you.
have access to all of the archived
hmm
long spoons, so
Yes.
they
That's
can
right.
be fed all year long.
They can go
Just
That's
back
true.
and
Mhm.
They
forth
can sit
and-
at a table that long
Mhm.
all year long.
All year long.
Aren't
Thank
we
you.
We're lucky.
hmm Uh,
Thank
so
you for seeing that. That's so
Yeah,
great.
It's a good visual, actually.
Mm-hmm.
It's a think
Wow.
about
it is.
And we all have a voice in it, so it's really cool.
Yeah.
There's always a spot at the table for you.
Yes. So thank you for joining us, and we will see you next month where we will set another table up
And
for
we're
you.
grateful for friends and family.
Yes. We appreciate your
that
support.
us in this, because
We
our
truly do.
families, we depend on that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks again. Bye for now.